Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another 3-month review. I'm trying to do more of these long-term reviews. I swear this is going to be the last Spyderco one for a while. I've been trying to do the Spydercos first for the long-term reviews because of the price increase. So my opinions may have changed slightly on the knives based on the price increase. What we have in front of us is the Spyderco Lil Native. I've gotten better at saying that since I did the first review. I just watched that review back before I did this to make sure I don't contradict myself too much, and I won't. I think most of the things I said in that review still apply, but still worthy information, good data point to talk about how this is held up for 3 months. And it's held up for 3 months with a lot of carry time. I've talked at length on this channel about using that fifth pocket, that watch pocket, change pocket, you have in your jeans. I mostly wear jeans 90% of the time. And this fits perfectly in that role, and it often resides there. It's one of my favorite fifth pocket knives that I have. I don't carry one in there all the time, but when I do, it's often the Lil Native. I just really like it. I'm a compression lock addict, and this is the smallest thing you can get with a compression lock, so I really do like it. We'll get into more about the lock here in a minute. But the price increase on this one, as you know, the Spider Apocalypse occurred and prices went up. This one wasn't hit too horribly bad. It was $105. Now it's $114. $9. Not awful. Not hard to swallow. That's probably the last I'm going to say about it because it's such a small increase. It wouldn't affect my opinion of the knife at all. Is it pricey? Yes, it is. But as small knives get more and more popular, it's not insane. Look at like a Best Tech Goblin or a Best Tech Zen. Lots of other small knives that are also going way up there in price. And it's just small knives are popular and companies are putting a lot of effort into small knives, and you're going to pay a lot for that effort. That's just how it is. You can't expect because it's smaller it's going to be cheaper anymore. That's not necessarily true. It's usually somewhat true, but it's not necessarily 100% true. We are going to do just some very quick specs here because if you go back, I'm going to link down to my original review. Let's say this is just a long-term update. But you do have slightly under 2.5-inch blade length, overall length of just under 6 inches, and a handle thickness of 0.44, a weight of 2.4 ounces, and the I think that's all we're really going to cover. The blade thickness is your standard 0.13 that you get on most flat ground Spydercos. It's a good spec knife. I like the weight of it. I think it's fine. I still like the way it looks. I still think it looks cool. It doesn't look intimidating, but it does look purposeful. The quality is held up very well. I've had no issues with any, blade centering, wandering, or anything like that. I have taken this apart completely and serviced it, and it was not a nightmare. It was completely fine to do. I put some nano oil and stuff in there and gave it the full usual treatment. It's broken in very nicely. It has definitely gotten smoother, but it's not gotten loose by any means or anything like that. It flicks out very well now. It was fine before when I did the review, but it's gotten even better. I have no issues with the quality, no issues with the aesthetics. As you can see, the G10's held up well. I think I did mineral oil the G10 at one point, but that was just a reflex thing that I do. It didn't necessarily need it, but if you want to make your G10 look cool, that's a little secret that I learned from some other YouTuber. I can't remember who or I would say, but yeah, just give them a light coating with something like this. I use this Ultra Pro stuff because I ordered it online and that's what was there. But any sort of mineral oil can just make a G10 look a bit more vibrant than it did before. Sometimes I do that on brand new knives just to make them pop a bit more, and it usually works. I will do a few size comparisons because when I reviewed this, I didn't have a whole lot of knives in this size. So now I've gotten into smaller knives, I have more of them. So here's one that's very similar in size, not similar in price. This is only a $30 knife, but the CRKT Pilar, very, very similar in size to that. This is obviously much nicer steel, much lighter, runs on a nice, smooth moving compression lock instead of these the plastic bushings that are in the Pilar, but very similar in size. The Spyderco Chaparral Lightweight, there's a comparison video between these two out. And I'm probably not going to do a long-term update on the Chaparral because, again, the price increase wasn't crazy, and I used it in another comparison that you guys requested against the Native 5, and I think I kind of covered everything I need to say there. And you guys got to be getting sick of these long-term Spyderco reviews by now. And lastly, I guess we'll show the Spyderco Para 3. So you can see it's still, even though this is the smaller version of the PM2, this is even smaller. As I said in the previous review, it is, you know, filling out the Native lineup with the Native 5 and the Shaman, which I consider part of the Native lineup because it is basically just a blown-up big Native. It's been great. Let's talk about the blade. The blade has still worked great. As I said in the previous review, it's a box opening champion, and it still is. I love it for box opening. I like it not only because it's pretty slicey, even though it is fairly thick blade stock for a blade this small, that flat grind and everything, it cuts through, it opens boxes and stuff very, very well, and it's a short enough blade that I don't stress out as much about accidentally stabbing through and ruining whatever Amazon just delivered to me. So I love that about it. I have used it for some minor little food prep stuff. It is a bit small for that, I will admit. And it's not the kind of knife that I'm going to hack through acres of cardboard with. But for your usual kind of EDC tasks that we all do, it works pretty well. I've cut some rope and stuff with it. I had to cut a bit of paracord out in my garage. I had to lace up a seat on a recumbent bike. I used this and cut through it. It was great. It's a very useful little knife. It's not just small. It's small and useful, and it's fun to play with. As I said, it's the compression lock, and in that previous review, I mentioned, and another reviewer or two have mentioned, yes, when you do close the compression lock, as you can see, bit of the blade on the end of that choil pops up through, and it can hit your finger. There's not a sharp spot. It's not like it's going to cut you. But if you shove your whole finger in there and you close it, then yeah, it doesn't close all the way because it hits your finger. So guess what? Don't do that. I just don't do that. I use my fingernail and it closes every time, or just like I have to on the Shaman, I just use the upper part and it closes fine every single time. And as I said, it still flicks out. So it's very fun to play with. The deployment on it is great and getting better every day. Ergonomically, I'm still also very, very pleased with it. This is definitely a knife that you're meant to choke up on, much like on the Pilar. Nobody intends for you to use this knife like this. Yeah, obviously if you do, then you've only got 3 fingers on it. That's not what it's intended for. Both of these knives, they have that forward choil for a reason. That's how you're supposed to carry it. You're supposed to carry it like that. So yes, while this is a 2.5-inch blade, it's really a 2-inch blade. But it's a good blade. It's S30V, no problem with that at the price point. And which brings us, I guess, basically to the value and the conclusion of this. Is it high priced? Yeah, but it's not overly priced, I don't think. Obviously I prefer if it was only $105. I prefer if it was $85, but it isn't. When you compare it to the amount of work that goes into this, there's really not, like, you're looking at like this. The Para 3 starts at what, 120, something like that. I think it's about well, let's look really quick here. I have all the world's knowledge at my fingertips, so let's look. We have the basic Para 3 is 130. So this is still $15 less than a Para 3, and when you look at the amount of work that goes into it, all there is just a bit less material. That's it. It's all the same technology inside. It's still a compression lock. It's still basically the same kind of construction. You still have full liners, all that stuff. Really, all they're saving is just a little bit of materials. So, $15 difference between this and a Para 3 makes complete sense to me. That sounds about right. So, I don't have an issue with that at all. If anything, I expect them to maybe be only $10 apart. So, no, God, sorry, I'm sorry I said that. I don't want to encourage Spyderco to increase their prices anymore. But I still really, really like the Lil Native. It's still one of my favorite Spydercos. It still is probably my favorite 5th pocket knife that I've reviewed or owned so far. So, gave it 2 thumbs up before. It's held up well. The price increase wasn't crazy. So, still an enthusiastic 2 thumbs up on the Lil Native. That is my update to that. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. please, click down below and subscribe and hit the bell and all those good things. And check out our links down below. We got my Instagram, our Patreon, and stuff like that. I'm about to set up something cool. It's a little joke reward on the Patreon. So check all that stuff out. I've been Brian. Have a good one.